Nephrotic syndrome is a condition that causes the kidneys to leak large amount of protein into the urine. This can lead to a range of problems. Let us see nephrotic syndrome in children. Nephrotic syndrome is primarily a pediatric disorder, and it is 50 times more common in children than in adults. It occurs in about 1 in every 50,000 children each year. The characteristic features of nephrotic syndromes are heavy proteinuria, more than 3.5 gram per 24 hour or 40 milligram per meter square per hour, or urine protein to creatinine ratio greater than 2. This heavy proteinuria causes hypoalbuminemia, less than 2.5 gram per deciliter, edema, and hyperlipidemia, increase in cholesterol, triglyceride, and low density lipoproteins. Most children with nephrotic syndrome have a form of the idiopathic nephrotic syndrome or primary nephrotic syndrome. The main causes of idiopathic nephrotic syndromes are minimal change disease, mesangial proliferation, and focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. The remaining few percent of children with nephrotic syndrome have secondary nephrotic syndrome related to systemic or glomerular disease such as membranous nephropathy or membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. Let us see mechanisms of proteinuria. Glomerular capillary wall consists of 3 components: the fenestrated endothelial cells, the glomerular basement membrane, and the epithelial cell food process. The pores between the food process are closed by a thin membrane called the slit diaphragm. The glomerular filtration barrier is freely permeable to water and small mid-sized solutes in plasma, yet maintains considerable size and charge selectivity for proteins and large molecules. Charge selectivity is due to the endothelial cell and the glomerular basement membrane, which have a net negative charges due to polyanions such as heparin sulfate protaglycans. This creates a charge barrier to the filtration of large anions such as albumin. Size selectivity is at the glomerular basement membrane and at the slit diaphragms between the adjacent epithelial cell food process. It doesn't allow those greater than 4 nanometer to pass through it, including the proteins, red blood cell, white blood cell, platelets, and other cell components in the blood. In minimal change disease, which is the most common cause of nephrotic syndrome in children, there is a loss of anionic charge that is not accompanied by any structural damage or change to the glomerular filtration unit observed by light microscope that results in proteinuria. Whereas in non-minimal nephrotic syndrome, like in mesangial proliferation or focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, there is structural damage, which allows movement of normally restricted proteins of varying size, including large neutral proteins, such as immunoglobulin G, across the filtration barrier. When we came to pathogenesis of nephrotic syndrome, when there is high glomerular permeability, there will be hyperalbuminuria due to charge and size selectivity barrier failure. This causes hypoalbuminemia. Then low plasma colloidosmotic pressure occurs when there is low albumin level in the serum. This causes transcapillary filtration of water, causes edema. Urinary complement and immunoglobulin loses, and the steroid therapy itself lowers the patient's resistance to infections and increases the risk of serious sepsis and peritonitis. There is increased urinary C3, C5, immunoglobulin G, and other complement and immunoglobulin Ds. And in addition, we give a steroid to treat them. This causes lower patient resistance for infection, predisposed for serious sepsis. The loss of antithrombin 3 and plasminogen via urine and there's a simultaneous increase in clotting factors, especially factor 1, factor 7, 8, 10. It increases the risk for venous thrombosis, which occurs in 5% of children with nephrotic syndrome. In addition to loss of antithrombin and the increase in production of clotting factors, there is also increase in platelet production and aggregability, and also there is decreased concentration of fluid in the vascular space or vascular collapse, which causes hemostasis. All of these things increase the risk for venous thrombosis. Venous thrombosis occurs at renal artery, it can occur at pulmonary lever, it can occur anywhere. For hyperlipidemia and nephrotic syndrome, there are two pathogenic processes. First, hypoproteinemia, that occurs due to increased urinary use of protein, stimulates generalized protein synthesis in the liver, including the lipoproteins. This causes increase in lipid. In addition, diminution of lipid catabolism caused by reduced plasma level of lipoprotein lipase, which is lost in the urine, causes decreased lipid catabolism and increased production at the liver. Those things causes hyperlipidemia. As I have said, nephrotic syndrome is classified into idiopathic nephrotic syndrome and secondary nephrotic syndrome. When we say primary or idiopathic, in this case, there is absence of systemic disease. Most of the time, it is preceded by upper respiratory tract infection or GI infection. Nephrotic syndrome associated with systemic disease or is secondary to another process that causes glomerular injury is called secondary nephrotic syndrome. Idiopathic nephrotic syndrome is responsible for approximately 90% of children with nephrotic syndrome. So, approximately 90% of children with nephrotic syndrome have idiopathic or primary nephrotic syndrome. Minimal change disease, mesangial proliferation, and the focal segmental glomerulosclerosis are the three histologic types. These three disorders may represent three separate diseases with similar clinical presentation, or alternatively, those disorders may represent spectrum of single disease. Let us see the most common cause of idiopathic nephrotic syndrome and overall nephrotic syndrome in children, that is minimal change in nephrotic syndrome. 85% of total cases of nephrotic syndrome in children is minimal change in nephrotic syndrome. In this case, the glomerulus appears normal or show a minimal increase in mesangial cells and matrix. On immunofluorescence, there is no finding almost. Finding on immunofluorescence are typically negative. But on electron microscope, simply reveals effacement of the epithelial cell foot process. The foot process are effaced. And more than 95% of children with minimal change disease responds to corticosteroid therapy. The next is mesangial proliferation, which is responsible for 5% of total cases of nephrotic syndrome. Mesangial proliferation is characterized by diffuse increase in mesangial cells and the matrix on light microscope. Immunofluorescence microscope may reveal trace to +1 mesangial IgM or IgA staining. Electron microscope reveals increased number of mesangial cells and the matrix, as well as effacement of the epithelial cell foot process. The approximately 50% of patients with this histologic type responds to steroid therapy. The third is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, which is responsible for 10% of total cases of nephrotic syndrome. This one occurs mostly in adult and adolescent, unlike that of minimal change disease. In this case, light microscope shows mesangial proliferation and segmental scarring. Electron microscope shows segmental scarring of the glomerular tuft with obliteration of glomerular capillary lumen. And this one responds poorly to steroids. Only 20% of patients with focal segmental glomerulosclerosis responds to steroid. Progressive, ultimately involving all glomerulus, leads to end-stage renal disease in most patients. When it comes to clinical features, nephrotic syndrome is more common in males than in females, relatively. It commonly occurs in children between the age of 2 to 6. Minimal change in nephrotic syndrome is present in 85 to 90% of patients less than 6 years of age, whereas focal segmental glomerulosclerosis develops in older children. 20 to 30% of adolescents have minimal change in nephrotic syndrome, which is preceded most of the time by minor infection, especially upper respiratory tract and GI infection, and occasionally reaction to insect bites, bee stings, or poison event. Mild edema, which is initially noted around the eyes and in the lower extremities, are the most common initial manifestation of nephrotic syndrome. Initially, it can be misdiagnosed as an allergic disorder because of the periorbital swelling that decreases throughout the day. With time, the edema becomes generalized with the development of ascites, pleural effusion, and the genital edema. Anorexia, irritability, abdominal pain, and diarrhea are common. Hypertension and the gross hematuria is also uncommon, like that of glomerulonephritis. To diagnose nephrotic syndrome, we should have to check urine analysis. Urine analysis most of the time shows protein plus 3 to plus 4. Microscopic hematuria might be present in 20% of children. The exact diagnosis is made by 24-hour urine protein or urine protein to creatinine ratio. Urinary protein excretion exceeding 3.5 gram per 24 hour in adult or 40 milligram per meter square per hour in children is massive hematuria or massive proteinuria or nephrotic range proteinuria. And in this case, the serum albumin is expected to be less than 2.5. Serum cholesterol and the triglyceride levels are also elevated. In addition, serum protein to creatinine ratio is expected to be above 2. But renal function is okay. Serum creatinine value is usually normal, unless there is associated prerenal azotemia due to collapse in intravascular volume. C3 and C4 levels are normal, and the renal biopsy is not required for diagnosis in most children. We should have to think of non-idiopathic nephrotic syndrome or non-primary nephrotic syndrome called secondary nephrotic syndrome when the age of the child is more than 8, when there is presence of hypertension, hematuria, renal dysfunction, or when the patient is having extrarenal symptoms such as rash, arthralgia, fever, depressed serum complement levels, and when they respond poorly to steroid. Nephrotic syndrome also occurs as a secondary feature of many forms of glomerular disease, such as HSP, lupus nephritis, post-infectious glomerulonephritis such as malaria, schistosomal, hepatitis B, filariasis, leprosy, membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis, and the membranous nephropathy. Malignancy, particularly in adult population, solid tumors such as carcinomas of the lung and the GI tract can also cause nephrotic syndrome. Lymphoma produces a lymphokine that increases glomerular capillary wall permeability. Immune complex composed of tumor antigens and the tumor-specific antibody presumably mediate the renal involvement. In this case, nephrotic syndrome develops before or after the malignancy is detected, resolve as the tumor regress, and the return of the tumor recurs. Let us see management of the most common cause of nephrotic syndrome, that is minimal change disease. In this case, children with large pleural effusion, ascites, severe edema should be hospitalized. When there is severe edema, sodium restriction, fluid restriction might be necessary if the child is hyponatremic. A swollen scrotum might be elevated with pillows. In addition, we should have to give steroid because more than 90% of them respond to steroid after negative TB screening. First, we should have to do tuberculosis screen. Prednisolone 2 mg per kg per day for at least 4 to 6 weeks, consecutive weeks, should be given. During those times, 80 to 90% achieve remission. We say patients achieving remission when urine trace or negative for protein for 3 consecutive days by 2 weeks. After the initial 4 to 6 weeks course, we should have to taper prednisolone to 1.5 mg per kg per day, given every other day as a single morning dose. Then the alternate day dose is then slowly tapered and discontinued over the next 2 to 3 months. The other is, after starting steroid, Steroid response classification. Some patients are steroid dependent. We call steroid dependent when the relapse occurs while on alternate day steroid therapy or within 28 days of stopping prednisolone therapy. The other is frequent relapsers. Patients who respond well to prednisolone therapy but relapse more than 4 times in a year in 12 months period. We call them frequent relapsers. Children who fail to respond to prednisolone therapy within 8 weeks are called steroid resistant. Steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome is usually most of the time minimal change disease, focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, and mesangial proliferation. Sorry, not minimal change disease. Minimal change diseases are highly respondent to steroid, whereas focal segmental glomerulosclerosis response is only 20%. Steroid-dependent patient, frequent relapsers, and the steroid-resistant patient might be candidates for alternate agents like cyclophosphamide, high-dose pulse methylprednisolone, cyclosporine, and the others. Thank you for watching.